In the middle of a garden there is a rose tree full of flowers. In the most beautiful flower there is a. He is so cute, so small that people can and number 39 see him. However, his body was fit, beautiful and lovely like a child and number 39's most beautiful love, and in addition, he had wings growing from his shoulders down to his heels. How beautiful is the castle you live in! Behind each petal is like transparent satin. The gentle color and fragrance radiating in those rooms are so pleasant. All day the celestials splash happily under the warm sun. He flew around, from one flower to another, then lay fluttering on the wings of a butterfly dancing in the air. One day, he was playing around, measuring how many steps it would take to go through all the complicated alleys created by the veins of the Bodhi leaf. The road is really long. No matter how fast he flies, his small legs walk so slowly. The sun had set but he hadn't and 39 finished walking through those winding, complicated roads. The dew fell, the wind suddenly rose, blowing coolly. The star must go home urgently. He tried his best to fly back as quickly as possible. Returning to the rose tree, he saw that the house was closed. Not only his house, but all the roses there had their petals closed. The poor angel was so scared, because he had never slept outside. He can still lie comfortably in the warm petals. He thought to himself, and quote, "Oh, I and number 39 am going to die tonight," end quote. He remembered that at the other end of the garden there was a canopy of purple orchids as beautiful as butterfly wings. He thought to himself, and quote, "Let a number 39's go hide in one of those flowers. Maybe we and number 39 LL get a good night and number 39's sleep." And quote. The star flew there. Whist! There were two people sitting under the flower canopy, a handsome young man and a beautiful young woman. They sat next to each other, saying goodbye to each other. They love each other so much that they Dawn and number 39 want to be apart. The young man said, "Anyway, we have to be apart. My brother really hates us. He forced me to carry a letter to a place very far away from here, on the other side of the mountains, forests and rivers and lakes. I had to obey him. Goodbye, my dear, no matter what, you are my fiancé." They kissed. The young woman cried. She gave him a rose. Before giving it to him, she placed a kiss so passionate and affectionate that the flower petals spread out. The angel quickly slipped in and rested his head next to the soft, fragrant flower petals. From inside, he heard them saying goodbye to each other, saying goodbye to each other forever. The rose was pinned to the young man and number 39's chest right next to his heart. Rub! His heart beat so strongly. The angel could not sleep because his heart was sobbing. He was shaken so violently. The young man went to a dark and deserted forest. He stopped, pulled out the rose from his chest and kissed it. He was so innocent and passionate that he almost crushed the star. Through the crumpled petals he felt his lips burning. The roses were kissed by those kisses and spread their wings as if under the noon sun. Suddenly a person, an evil man, a terrible villain appeared. That was the beautiful young woman and number 39's brother. It gingerly followed the young man. While the poor boy was engrossed in kissing the rose, he came up behind him, pulled out a knife and stabbed his sister and number 39's fiancé to death. To be more certain, it gave him another blow, cutting off his head. Then it buried its head and body under the large Bodhi tree. The bastard said to himself, and quote, "So he and number 39's gone. He will make a long journey to the other side of the mountains and forests. When he does and 39 return, people will think he died along the way. And my sister, I will never dare mention his name in front of me." End quote. He used his foot to push dry leaves on top of the hole he had dug and then returned home. But it and number 39's not just him like he thought. The planet followed it. He hid in a curled dry linden leaf that fell into the murderer and number 39's hair when he bent down to dig the young man and number 39's grave. This guy put a hood over the leaf. It and number 39's so dark under this hat. The angel trembled, both scared and angry because he could not stop that gruesome murder. Arriving home at dawn, the murderer took off his hat, then entered the room where his sister was sleeping. The beautiful girl is lying down, full of youth. She was dreaming of the person to whom she had entrusted her heart. She saw that he had returned, after a long journey through many mountains, forests and rivers. Her cruel brother looked down at her, smiling evilly. The dry leaf fell from his hair onto the bed without him even noticing. It went to bed for a while to rest after that crime-filled night. The angel came out from its hiding place and entered the young woman and number 39's ear. He told her, like a dream, the terrible murder. He described to her the place where her brother had killed and buried the body of her lover. He described the large Bodhi tree blooming nearby and added, and quote, "To show you that what I am talking about is not an ordinary dream, you will see a dry Bodhi leaf on the bed." End quote. Sure enough, when she woke up, she saw a leaf. She shed so many sad tears. Her window was left open all day so the angel could easily fly out into the garden and crawl back into her beloved roses, but he could and 39 bear to leave her alone. The poor girl sobbed alone. On the window there is a rose, a May rose. He nestled in a flower and looked at the girl. That day my brother came many times, happily and kindly, even though he had done a great evil. The girl did not dare say a word about her sadness. At night, she sneaked out into the forest to the root of the tree that she knew well. She saw a pile of dry leaves, pushed them aside, dug new soil and found her lover and number 39's skull and body. She stood there for a long time, bowing her head in pain, sobbing and praying to God to grant her the grace to die soon. She lifted her pale head, her eyes closed, she kissed her cold lips, knocking the dirt from her hair. Curly and said to himself, and quote, "I will bring it back and keep it." End quote. After covering the body with soil and leaves as before, she left, taking with her the head and a branch of wild jasmine growing under the Bodhi tree. Returning to her room, she took a very large flower pot and placed the head in it. "Fill it with soil and plant jasmine branches on it." The angel could not bear that pitiful scene. He flew back to the old rose tree, which had almost all its flowers withered, only a few flowers were almost withered. He sighed and said, and quote, "In this world, good things often pass quickly." And quote. Finally, he found a blooming rose tree and went there every night to gently lie down among the fragrant, gentle petals. In the morning, he flew towards the window of the poor girl and number 39's room. She is always next to the flower pot, which contains something that only the angel knows. She cried, her tears falling onto the jasmine petals and the more pale. The unfortunate girl and number 39's face became, the more green the small flower tree sprouted. Then the girl lovingly kissed the newly blossomed flower buds. The cruel brother came to scold her, saying she was crazy, only whining all day, refusing to leave the room. One day, dejected by the flower pot, she fell asleep, her head resting on the jasmine plant. The little star flew to her ear, reminded her of the night of love sitting under the flower canopy, and told her about the love of the stars. She dreamed a beautiful dream. In the midst of ecstasy, her soul gently flew to heaven. Up there, she found her lover again. The jasmine tree blooms with flowers that look like white baby bells, emitting a sweet fragrance. It is the scent of a flower plant to pay tribute to a deceased daughter. The evil brother has returned and has no pity for his sister and number 39's death. He brought the magical flower and placed it next to his bed. The sweet fragrance filled the room. The angel followed, he flew from flower to flower, and in each flower he found a little girl. He told the story of his death. The tragedy of the young man, the story of his cruel brother and his poor sister for you to hear. They all answered, and quote, "We knew it all, because was it your flesh that turned into soil to feed us? We knew it all." And quote. And they rang their little bells, and then there was silence. The angel could not have imagined that his friends would be so touched. He went to find the bees sucking the stamens and told the story of the murder. The bee went back to talk to the Lord. Ordered the whole herd to go kill the murderer tomorrow. But that night, while the older brother was sleeping next to a jasmine tree full of flowers, all the flower petals burst open, and the flower spirit flew out, invisible, carrying the medicinal needles. Poison. They crawled into the murderer and number 39's ear, repeating his murder. They entered his nostrils, flew over his lips, and while he spoke deliriously, they inserted poison needles into his tongue. Then they returned to hide in their white bells. They said, and quote, "So we have avenged the person who was unjustly killed." And quote. The next morning, as soon as the window opened, the angel, the bee queen and the whole flock rushed in to kill the murderer. He was already dead. Many people gathered around his bed saying, "The smell of jasmine made him die." Tin immediately understood that it was the small and brave flower spirit that did it. He explained to the bee queen. The bee queen and the whole flock quickly gathered to praise the jasmine flowers. They buzz around flower plants, people cannot drive them away. A person picked up a flower pot to carry it away. A bee stung his hand so hard that he dropped the flower pot. The young man and number 39's skull was revealed, and thus it was discovered that the man lying dead on the bed was a murderer. Then the queen bee soared into the air and went everywhere praising the revenge of the flowers and the story of the angel hiding behind a small dry leaf who denounced the murder and punished the murderer. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.